The streaming service Spotify has promised to take action to combat COVID-19 misinformation. This comes amid a public backlash about controversial content on the platform. The dispute has seen artists Neil Young and Joni Mitchell remove their music from the platform. The UK's Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, who've signed deals with Spotify, have also expressed concern over vaccine misinformation. The company has now said it will add advisory warnings to podcasts that discuss COVID-19. And the U.S. podcaster Joe Rogan sparked the controversy after he interviewed a prominent vaccine skeptic on his show, listened to by some 11 million people.
One of the things that Spotify wants to do that I agree with is that at the beginning of these controversial podcasts, like specifically ones about COVID, is to put a disclaimer and say that you should speak with your physician and that these people and the opinions that they express are contrary to the opinions of the consensus of experts, which I think is very important.
Let's get some perspective on this with Alison Stewart-Allen. She's a branding and marketing expert for International Marketing Partners in London. Thanks so much for joining us here on DW. So Spotify has, as we mentioned, vowed to combat misinformation going forward. So does that mean that's the end of this story?
I don't think it does mean this is the end of this story. I mean, what it's showing, Spotify, and it's certainly showing all other online platforms, streamers, social media outlets, is that you are under scrutiny. And when you have heavyweights such as Neil Young or Joni Mitchell, or certainly even Prince Harry and his wife, who are weighing in on misinformation and helping shape the content and keeping it honest and transparent, really what this means for Spotify, certainly, is that the brand is having to respond. Now, why should the brand have to respond to pressure from its revenue generators, such as Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, rather than having taken that decision themselves? So this activism era is not a one-off. Joe Rogan and his misinformation about COVID means that people aren't happy with it, and some people with influence have spoken up. But this is really facing every brand,
right,
whether they're a streamer or a broadcaster, a lot of people.
I want to ask you about that because we've seen Facebook and YouTube, of course, face a lot of criticism for the way that they've handled mis and disinformation on their platforms. So this really is much bigger than Spotify, isn't it?
It definitely is. And this isn't just a new trend that we're seeing happen, in the last 48 hours. This is actually where users themselves, or perhaps participants, partners, you could say, in the form of the musicians Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, are very concerned about the light in which they're represented. And so they're paying attention and they're applying pressure to the company. And users of all types, they don't need to be of that stature of these famous musicians or Prince Harry. What it means is that the companies must listen to their marketplace and their customer, but before they push back, the company themselves ought to be guided by some principles and ethics so that the brand is not compromised. And this is really the era of companies being open for scrutiny that is a permanent feature now of the landscape. And this is not a new thing that will go away anytime soon.
We'll leave it there. Alison Stewart-Allen from International Marketing Partners in London. Thanks so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.